A new poll shows the race for Maryland's next governor is getting tighter in the final few weeks of campaigning. The latest poll in the Baltimore Sun shows Democrat Anthony Brown with only a modest lead over his Republican challenger, Larry Hogan, only 7 points separating them. Melinda Roeder here now to explain why political analysts say it's basically a toss-up. Melinda.
Closer than anyone might have guessed at this point. Of 800 potential voters surveyed earlier this month, 49% supported Brown, with 42% favoring Hogan, and plenty of undecided voters still out there, which means if the math is correct, this election is any man's race to win.
In a state where Democrats outnumber Republicans 2-1, the latest polls may come as a surprise. But this election, full of feisty debates and plenty of pointed rhetoric, is raising eyebrows now among political observers.
The problem is there's no Brown fever.
Political science professor John Deedy breaks down what he thinks each candidate must do to win in November, starting with Larry Hogan, who seems to be catching Anthony Brown in the polls.
The best thing Larry Hogan can do the last few weeks of the campaign is talk about economy, economy, economy. Stress that he's a businessman, stress he's going to fix everything. And I think what Brown has to do is figure out how to energize his base to actually show up and vote on Election Day. And if he can't get his people out on Election Day, he could lose this election very easily.
With the clock ticking down to Election Day, both campaigns are working hard to convince undecided voters, and both men are talking taxes.
There will be no new taxes in the Brown-Ullman administration.
Last week in a televised debate, Democrat Anthony Brown pledged no new taxes, a promise he repeated this weekend.
I'm not raising taxes in a Brown-Ullman administration, period.
But given the track record of the O'Malley administration with 40 straight tax increases, the state already facing a huge deficit, and Brown's plan to boost funding for schools, many opponents and political observers are skeptical.
It just doesn't add up. But then again, he said no taxes. He didn't talk about fees, and maybe that's the fine print and everything.
And that lack of confidence may be what's helping Hogan in the latest polls.
I believe that a majority of Marylanders, regardless of their party affiliation, really want to change the direction in Annapolis, and we think that's going to work to our favor, and I think we're going to win this race.
The two will square off again tomorrow in what's likely to be another spirited debate. We reached out to both camps today for comment. A spokesman for Larry Hogan says they predict Brown will try to, quote, flip-flop again on taxes after 2 terms in Annapolis spent raising taxes, end quote. A representative from Brown's campaign never got back to us with a comment about tomorrow's debate, but did send us a press release about all the stops they made on the campaign trail this weekend. Melinda Roeder, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Melinda. And you can see the next governor's debate on our sister station, My 24. It will be produced in Washington, D.C. Tune in tomorrow at 8.